Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from around the world. I'm Linsa, a product marketing manager with Nimblework, and I'm thrilled to be your moderator for today's session. This isn't just another panel, this is a conversation that needs to happen. This is a space to share stories, to ask the hard questions, and to challenge the status quo. Because while we celebrate progress, we know there is still work to be done. Today's discussion will be a free flowing conversation where panelists will share their personal experiences and their leadership lessons. During the session, please feel free to use the Q&A box to ask questions, share your insights, and contribute your experiences. So today's webinar is brought to you by Nimblework, a company that has been pioneering in web-based project and work management solutions, a company that has given me space to grow and has paved paths for several other leaders. So before we dive in, I have the absolute honor of introducing the incredible women joining us today, leaders who have paved the path, challenged the norms, and inspired countless individuals through their work. First, Malti Satish, someone who holds a special place in my journey as my professor and mentor at IIM Udaipur. She was the one who encouraged me to step into the world of product like the countless others she has inspired. Malti is the CEO and founder of SparkProd and the host of the podcast Product Talk with Malti. Please do check that out. It's amazing. Next, we have Preeta Dutt, a passionate advocate for women empowerment, equity, and justice, and the founder of Mera Biznet, an initiative designed to bridge the gender gap in India's MSME sector by providing livelihood opportunities for 1 million women by 2030. And our very own Ashwini Lalit. With more than 20 years of IT expertise, she is the Senior Manager of Product Quality and Presiding Officer for Posh IC at Nimblework. She's a firm believer in continuous improvement, gender equality in the workplace, advocating for an inclusive and fair working environment. I couldn't be more excited to hear from each of these phenomenal women today. So, why does this matter? Why have such conversations? Women make up nearly 50% of the population, but hold only 32% of senior leadership roles. And this is a survey done by the Women in Workplace Report 2024. And while representation is increasing, we have to ask, are we mistaking visibility for real challenge? Are we shifting the culture, or are we just ticking diversity boxes? So let's start by hearing directly from our incredible panelists. Each of them has a unique leadership journey filled with defining moments that shaped who they are today. So I'd love for each of you to share what's one defining moment in your leadership journey. So Malti, shall we start with you?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you, Linsa, for having me here today and a very, very kind introduction. So very, very glad to see you, thriving and working on something you're so passionate about. So coming back to your questions, right? So I have been very fortunate to have been part of during my corporate journey, having been part of organizations which have been very, very vocal and caring about gender equity, right? But if I have to really pick up one defining moment in my career was when I actually, moved my career from, I left Intuit and I joined Society General. And I moved away from being a product leader in a product company, which was a very well-defined role, to an evangelist-led role, right? So for me, it was about suddenly out of a very defined scope, I had to now define my own role, right? I had to work with a lot new set of stakeholders, moving away from, I would say, a very well-defined, seasoned product organization to a more financial services organization. So it was a risk. It came up with a lot of apprehensions, but I think the confidence and the support which I got from the leadership, especially they were also experimenting with a brand new role. So I would say that was one of the things because I think a lot of things which I did after that role and after what I achieved there actually literally reimagine my, I would say, my next 10 years, including my ability to have the confidence in me and take the plunge of leaving my corporate job and starting my own product consulting firm. So I would say moving away from a product leadership role to a product evangelist role, that was one of the more defining moments in my career.
What about you, Preeta?
Firstly, thank you, and lovely hyperbolic statements. I'm like kind of reeling. 1 million now seems like scary, but thank you so much. So, firstly, I can't think of a moment, and it's only in retrospect that it strikes me, yes, that was really a defining, not just a moment, but a phase. And this is, when I kind of part of an association while working, and I was in the leadership team of the HRD network. It was still in my HR kind of role at Airtel. And I had initiated something to help people in NGOs and NGOs themselves to get support from corporate volunteers, as in employees, as well as the corporates. Now, that was something that was not part of a role in the organization. It was something that I was passionate about, and I had this kind of belief that NGOs and people need more than funds. They need the capacity building. They need the leadership training. They need tools and resources, etc. And what better than to get corporate people to support, whether it's in IT or process or project management or writing up reports or doing pitch decks and so on and so forth. Not only was that successful, it then became, was adopted nationally, but we got written about. And it was, I think, the first or second edition of a magazine called Civil Society, and Civil Society featured. Now, looking back, I think that A was, to me, an influencer doing something which is much more larger than just a corporate role, and allowed me to then take the plunge eventually and to move out completely from the corporate sector, so much like Ashwin's story, and to be in the development sector space. So to me, that was like really defining phase.
Ashwini?
Okay, firstly, hi everyone. I'm truly honored to be here today, and I would like to sincerely thank Linsa and the Nimble marketing team for this wonderful opportunity. And it's a privilege for me to share this platform with such inspiring leaders and founders who have made remarkable contribution in this field of DEI. Talking about my defining moment in my leadership journey, it was when I was tasked for leading a test automation transformation after previously failed attempt. This goes back probably a couple of decades back. We had procured a new tool, and management was keen on getting the ROI. And I had bunch of freshers, team members, enthusiastic people with me, and we were actually starting this journey in an uncharted territory. So test automation was not there prior to this particular initiative. So this was a very expensive experiment. So if these challenges were not less, guess what? I had returned from maternity break. So we just started on the journey, taking the ownership. I built the automation framework from scratch, and it was balancing about technical depth, stakeholder alignment, and team empowerment. So this experience taught me that leadership is not just about solving problems or solving problems alone. It was more about taking team along, making team succeed or enabling them to succeed, and also fostering trust in the system, building a culture wherein any challenge, it's looked at like an opportunity, and you drive in to grow from that opportunity. So this was really the turning point in my journey of leadership.
Amazing, amazing stories. So, with all the experiences that you guys have, do you think are we truly moving forward, or are companies just ticking diversity boxes now? Preeta, what do you think?
So I think ticking a diversity box also is a great step, because for very long, and I remember when I was starting my career, it was and with the standard line in any recruitment policy, etc. We don't make any, or we are a fair company, or words to that effect, which did not get translated into anything, because the number of women getting hired was always a reason. I mean, the reason given was, but they didn't apply, and so that's why they are not getting hired, or there aren't that many women, so how can you promote? So I believe even ticking a diversity box is a great first step. Unfortunately, in a lot of places, it's become like, okay, just tick that kind of box without ensuring that is it really being inclusive? Is that really helping then move up, or or it's just getting stuck at that box? So yes, it's a step, but I think a lot more thought has to go into what are you doing then in terms of nurturing that talent in order to ensure that the talent moves up in unrepresented kind of areas, in difficult positions, in jobs that are challenging. What about if the diversity box is not ticked? Would you still have a level playing field? Would you still make sure that you are truly making the difference? So that itself is a great step. But it's like just fairly recently, and I'm not just talking, let's say, companies, this diversity ticking box exists in other spaces as well. So let's say in panchayats there are women only, where women have to be the sarpanches. And I have personally seen and met sarpanches who are only in name. It's the sarpanch pati who's the real, the person who's managing the show. But even that is making a difference. I met a sarpanch in a tribal village 6-7 years back, and she was struggling to kind of get literate herself so that she now reads the files and doesn't have to depend on her husband. And I think we would have all read fairly about a week back, there was a report in the papers that police has taken cognizance of the fact that in a particular geography, it was the sarpanch patis who were taking the oath of office, and the women sarpanches were kind of behind the scenes. So action is being taken. So diversity tick box is a first step, but yes, much more change needs to happen. It's happening. I believe it's happening.
So do you think, so Ashwini, do you think the DEI and leadership programs that we are having, are they really driving impact, or because a company has to do it? Maybe it's a PR move.
Okay, so DEI initiatives, they have to be woven inside the fabric of the organization. So it cannot be just about laying down certain policies or practices or SOPs, but it has to be fairly ingrained into the workplace culture. So many a times we see that there is one-shot hiring that happens in order to ensure there's the gender diversity tick mark comes in. But then eventually, are we talking about retention? Are we talking about providing better workplace so that there are like sustained efforts to ensure that women are able to participate and rise the leadership ladder? So it has to be a systemic change. It has to be a change driven by systemic calls like laying down the policies and the HR practices, and at the same time ensuring that these are well-grained and well interpreted throughout the organization. So one of the example that I would like to give, if you would have read Sudha Murthy, right? She was the only student in the mechanical engineering class, and I think we've come a long way from that era where now we just cannot imagine schools and colleges with that kind of state. But then even if women have equal opportunities to education, and when they pass out, they are equally qualified as men, the journey further in the professional ladder still is a struggle. There's still lot many changes that needs to happen so that women are able to contribute and feel valued when they are doing their part of contribution to the organization's objective. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Malti? What is your opinion on, is the real change happening?
See, at least the statistics say yes. Yeah. And I think we are, as a generation, I would say, owe it up to our previous generations of our, mothers, our grandmothers, because from the time probably our grandmother getting, probably not really literate, to our mother standing up, getting a job, being a role model for us, I think we have definitely come a long way. Having said that, very recently I was reading, I mean, of course, this is the Women Month, and there are still realities that I think there was a report which said that they kind of surveyed 700 organization across large organization and mid-size organization, and less than 10% organization had women board of directors, right? So definitely it is not an equal representation, right? Because as a population, we are still 50-50, but it is definitely not equally represented anywhere. So I would say these D&I initiatives have been a great way to create awareness, to create, in some form, probably it is also helping to make opportunities more available, accessible, right? But having said that, kind of as Ashwini said, this has to become the DNA of the organizations. An ideal state would be where we probably, as they said, right, woman leader. We just talk about leader. Really doesn't matter you are a man or a woman, the gender should not matter. So I think that state it's still far away, right? And these D&I initiatives, despite the training, the awareness that we try to create, for example, unconscious bias is still a reality. And it is not against the gender, right? We all are kind of conditioned in a certain way. So knowingly or unknowingly, we do practices. So how do we make it kind of more inclusive? How do we make it more natural for us to build it as a culture? I think it is still a work in progress. So I work with an organization called as Jobs for Her, right? It is actually trying to address a problem where women, because it is all of us, we know that after a certain career path, which is probably 5 years, 10 years, a lot of women do take a break due to various, life milestones that they have. And it is a struggle for them to come back to the mainstream workforce after a few years. And that is why we even needed to have a company like that, which is trying to address these problems, working along with organizations. So I do think that, yes, these are helping. These are trying to create awareness. Having said that, recruitment, everything has to be still very merit-based. But I think it kind of helps giving more, making the opportunities more accessible for the larger, population. But again, I think I want to kind of go back to what Pritha was talking about. I think we are probably in this conversation, in this setup, we are probably the much more privileged ones. There are far many more industries, verticals, strata of the society where that distribution is extremely uneven, right? So we are still probably should be happy that we, in our IT industry, for example, we still see women representation anywhere from 15% to a good percentage could be maybe like a 40% plus, right? But there is a lot more work that needs to happen.
Right, absolutely. So while we were curating the webinar, so we finalized on the topic and on the title as Women in Leadership. So a colleague of mine came and asked me if we are overemphasizing on gender. So this can sometimes reinforce the idea that women leaders are an exception rather than a norm. So what do you guys think? But my reply to my colleague was, because this is Women's History Month, that is why we are focusing on women's in general, women in general. So what is your opinion on this? Did we name the webinar correctly, or do you think we should have just called it leadership tips or leadership anything? Ashwini, do you want to answer?
I think there has to be a better definition of diversity, because it's not just about women or men, but I think diversity and inclusion is more about, consider any of your team. Eyebrows are raised if you hear a different accent, right? And for example, a Bengali English to a Maharashtrian English to a French English, and you would find that it's not easy for the diverse group to really get heard, or it's not easy for them to participate and make a point. There are areas which need to be looked at in terms of really ensuring that everybody is able to participate. There's a collective ownership in terms of what we are trying to do. Each one wants to contribute in a creative manner and ensure that they feel satisfied for their contribution. So it's truly not just about men or women. When we talk about leadership, it's about really taking collective ownership. It is about really enabling the entire team, and team is a diverse group. So I think as far as women in leadership and breaking the barriers is concerned, whenever we talk about this topic, and I'm pretty sure women talk about inclusive growth. And they also emphasize the fact that there are many internal biases that women do have, which inhibits them from really progressing. So even those need to be looked at constructively, and some amount of DEI initiatives are needed for the groups that really come from difficult background, which can act as enabler, because not everyone is fortunate to be, let's say, part of a metro, or coming from a rural background, or coming from families that would not have any role model where you would look forward and really try to imbibe those qualities. So I think we are talking about inclusive growth. We are talking about leadership in terms of that collective representation. So yeah, so irrespective of name of the topic, I think our discussions are more oriented towards that.
Right. So
may I just butt in
yes,
here, Lindsay, because I'm like nodding vigorously while Ashwini was talking. So firstly, I think it's right. You have to name it women leadership because this is the month. But gender is only kind of one kind of let's say group that has been historically not allowed. Women I'm talking about. But there are other equally vulnerable or equally unrepresented groups. We're still trying to kind of get them opportunities in education, in the visually challenged, the physically challenged, the neurodiverse, divergent, individual. Not even talking about rural, urban, or different other sets. And maybe we will have a campaign for providing opportunity for visually challenged, providing opportunity for physically challenged. We still don't know whether they can sit for government exams, whether they can sit for the army, whether they can get into other professions. And the fact that we've called out women because, like you rightly said, 50% women. So obviously they need to it. The other subcategories, we will have to do probably a same D&I much more, structured campaign to get those voices in, to get their representation in. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much between Pratha and Ashwini, they are beautifully covered, right? I think because we are the women leadership in leadership, this is because there is a gap that we see that exists. And we are probably out of those unrepresented groups, we are the largest group. So that's where we kind of get started. And I think it is a proven study, right? That a more diverse a team is, much better is their decision making, more successful those such teams are, right? So I think there is definitely a need to go beyond gender and look at ways where all the other smaller communities, underrepresented communities can thrive and, grow together.
Right. So now talking about representation, let's talk about pay gap. Let's talk about money. So why do women still struggle with salary negotiation? Why do you think? Preeta, do you want to take up this question?
So, firstly, it's true, women struggle, but it has to do with the way that we are taught to behave, the way that our relation with accepting anything, sharing. So as a child, you're said, bhai mang raha hai, the brother is asking for it, so give it to the brother. It's like it's the son can ask, the men can demand, teenage son can be allowed more goodies, more liberties, whereas the girl is supposed to be, no, you're not supposed to behave like that. So I think a lot of it is conditioning. We are conditioned not to ask. It's not ladylike, it's not feminine, it'll come to you. It's something which is like, oh my god, she is like demanding, that's aggressive. So firstly, it's inherent, we struggle with it. And then we don't know what language we should put it in terms of what is the way we should be asking for it, and how do we do that. For men, it is easier to get opportunity to do that. For women, it has to be more a formal setting. I mean, how do you do it? You go and ask for formal time and say, I have come to ask for it. Whereas for men, it's sometimes easier to make a passing conversation, probably, I don't know, while out for a smoke, while in the lift, while in, that I'm like probably looking for a raise. Women have to be far more considerate, far more take care of how and what language. So yes, we struggle with it. I think we should be taught. I think it's a part of I mean, of course, when I say taught, I mean you're not going to be taught how to ask for it, but that it's okay. The conditioning has to start right from how we are brought up, how we are expected to behave. But I think mentors, coaches, they need to kind of probably play a role there. So women need to learn how to ask for it and to seek help, that I need to, and how do I do it, instead of bottling it up and not asking. So we don't even then take the steps, like, oh, I don't know how to ask, and then get upset or feel that I'm not worth it, and attribute all other kinds. So it's yes, we do, but we need to learn.
Right. So are we afraid to ask, or in general, women, we are being undervalued? What do you think?
It's a bit of both. So we are afraid to ask, and yes, we are. So I mean, it's if you don't ask, you don't get. So yes, we are afraid to ask, and because we that they will not ask, so you also get underpaid. But having said that, yes, women get underpaid. Now, it's not true for, let's say, industries there are several industries where you will not find any different, and this is largely the the IT industry doesn't, the hospitality industry won't, the service industry, but there are professions where it will be. So, and I come back to the informal, unorganized. So you will find it in the construction work, you will find it in the logistics sector, you will find it in professions in the caregiving, the caregiver, etc. space where women will be paid less than men will be paid. But we need to be able to also know that, unless I ask for it, I don't get. So bit of both. It's like Ashwini was talking about. It's also what is the culture. If you're meant to keep it within a certain budget, so okay, fine, let's give it to the ones who are going to make more noise, who will ask for more, and so it's part of the practice to let's pay them more and not pay the women. So it's a bit of both, Lindsay.
Right. So also there are certain systematic biases. For example, women mostly dominate the low-paying fields such as teaching, nursing, social work, while men dominate tech, finance, and leadership roles. So do you think such occupational segregation have to be dealt with properly in giving opportunities? So we were talking about the biases that we face. So even though companies do have tick boxes to do, but then are we given equal opportunities to get those to get to those places is the question. So what, Ashwini, what do you think can be done for this? Like, what should we do to actually ask what we deserve?
It's a great question, Linsa. Firstly, I think know your worth, know your value. That is key. And how do we go about it? In fact, today in the world where we have knowledge accessible at fingertips, right? There are multiple different channels wherein the pay scales and the level wise or role wise pay scale benchmarks are published on the websites, and there are numerous websites, LinkedIn benchmarking scheme and so on. So those can be studied. Second important point is about really having the internal networking and the external networking. One of the ways in which you can understand like where the industry is moving, am I really moving along with the industry standards, whether I'm having the skills that industry demands. It's great to get in touch with people outside the boundaries in terms of let's say conferences or meetups or workshops, tutorials, cohorts. In fact, all the way more on the technical side, there are these coding challenges, hackathons, or in fact there are websites which are which kind of open various freelancing or challenging initiatives. But it is essential that your worth is validated outside the boundaries. Once that is done, you yourself will get a conviction to understand that yes, this is where I stand. And that will change the tone, that will change the emotion, that will change the confidence, how you go about telling your story, talking about the challenges that you go further to deliver the value that you're delivering, and how it is aligned with the overall business strategies, or how it is aligned with the overall success that matters to the organization. And it is essential once you get into these professional networks, you learn a lot. There's a lot of knowledge sharing that happens inherently. So I think, and that can happen even in the internal networking. You start getting into more cross-functional discussions, understanding in terms of what are we having the right expectation settings. One might feel I'm doing a great job, but are those expectations correctly set and understood on both the sides? So I think knowing your value and knowing your market worth is one of the essential steps. Another thing to really look at is, apart from pay scale, are we having various other perks or benefits wherein, let's say, more to do with flexible work timings, or whether we are having the right kind of, let's say, parental leaves or other options, which actually make your complete package. It is a myopic view to just look at one part in terms of pay scale, but there are multiple other things that go to build the workplace culture, and which will matter the most. Once you start performing, you get the right momentum which is provided by the workplace. So I think there has to be a holistic view when we look at the overall salary. Am I getting the right environment? Am I getting the learning initiative? Am I able to really grow on my job? Am I getting the right kind of challenging initiatives? So all these things put together, I think women can have the conviction to really put their say in terms of what is the right worth or right value or right package that they deserve.
But don't you think when we put out our worth, we are labeled as too aggressive, too emotional? We are asked to tone it down. We are asked to be more likable. So what should we do about that? Like, how can we as women ask for the right things, ask for what we deserve?
I think systemic biases play a major role when it comes to really labeling that, right? If you're too collaborative or accommodative, then it's like you don't have a risk-taking attitude, right? And if you are too vocal about or demanding about certain things, then it's looked at more aggression. So I think there's invisible work and emotional labor associated with these kind of practices. And yes, women do feel that frustration and those biases, and it's difficult to get over these kind of challenges. But I think one important aspect that that we have to understand is that nobody else is going to voice the concern. I think it's time to get over the self-skepticism and understand the situation as it is. Face it, understand it, that yes, it is happening to me, and voice the concern. Discrimination should not be acceptable at all. And if it is, I think every organization has certain things which are like value system, which are certain things are non-negotiable. If still it persists, then it's not the right place for you to be in. So I think it's essential for us to really look around and really face ourselves first. And then I think it's simpler to view the world how the world views you.
Right.
Yeah.
And-
One thing.
Yeah, no, I think those were some brilliant points, Ashwini, which you said, right? And I mean, I think the biggest hurdle is to overcome your own inhibitions and, you know, be okay to go out with how you view is your worth, versus also that people should be open to accept with your vulnerabilities, right? So I think that's one part. The second thing which I would say is that, which is kind of a little bit more women can lean up to, is of course I think not only women but everybody, each one of us comes with our own imposter syndromes and stuff like that. But personally, if I think, you know, for the women I have mentored or in my own journey that I have seen, I think couple of things which I do think helps a woman to kind of overcome their own self inhibitions. One is find your tribe, right? Be part of that community, have these difficult conversation with your peers, try to build your awareness as to what are they doing, right? So learning from your peers leaning on to them to understand the larger ecosystem, organization, benchmarking, data points. I think that helps you to kind of build up your own confidence, right? And so I think that is, and you know, like, have you, again, this is not something that happens on day one, but I think, as Ashwini said, the first step is to start with the awareness and then kind of take it from there. But if you do not stand up for yourself, nobody else is going to do that. Whether people call it aggression, people call it whatever, doesn't matter. But if you don't stand up for yourself, nobody else in this world is going to do it.
Absolutely. So, what role do men play in dismantling these biases? Preeta, what do you think?
I think there are 2-3 ways to look at it. Firstly, when we were, just in the previous question, all these labels are largely not just men, but at times even women give other women. Yeah. So especially because it sometimes breaks the stereotype of how you are expected to behave. So you're supposed to be more collaborative. So you can be called nice. She's a nice person. But the moment that it becomes aggressive, even a lot of women find it difficult. Yeah. So I think what both Malti and Ashwini were talking about, I think it's firstly the confidence and the conviction you have in who you are. So, for example, even if it is aggressive or whatever, is that something that sits with you and you like who you are? So be it. You're aggressive, that's great. You don't have to conform to being non-aggressive and being passive. So I think, yes, the labels are because you are not conforming to a certain thing. So whether it is men or women, the conversation first is with yourself. Are you trying to force fit and become something you are not? Now you can get the same result by being your authentic self. You can be a softer person. You can be somebody who probably does not interact but gets work done through other methods. Somebody who's probably more comfortable writing an email than going. I mean, I'm just making it far simplistic, but it's your style that you need to find out, and don't be afraid to then confront. So yes, kind of, if there are these labels and biases, do address if that doesn't sit with you, if that's not, it's leading to internal conflict or that's making you uncomfortable. So I'll kind of say that's what my take on this is.
So, Malti, do you think, can women have it all without burning out?
I think, first of all, we should stop glorifying the nomenclature of superwoman. There is nothing like superwoman, right? So if the question is, can I have it all? What does all mean for me, right? I mean, so first of all, the answer, if I have to give it in one word, the answer is yes, right? But I think we all know that during different stages of our life, every single day, there are 100 priorities that anybody deals with, not only women, but also men. So there are times where one thing has to take a priority if work has a priority. And exactly what as Pritha said, right? I mean, we live in a world where we are only 50% of the population. So having a strong allyship, whether it is at home, whether it is at work, is very, very important for anybody to thrive, right? So I would say, yes, women can have it all, but it is also subjected to a very strong support system that can make or break it, right? But I think if women needs to be definitely ask for help, be more kinder to themselves. It is okay not to be perfect in anything and everything that you do, right? Uh, make yourself a priority as well, because only when you are healthy, when you are happy, everything else will actually move, everything else will actually happen. So I would say these are some of the things, and ask for help. Um, it is okay to say no, not anything and everything that comes your way. You have to really do it. Constantly prioritize, right? And I think that is the only way we can have it all.
Ashwini, Preeta, if you want to add on this.
I think it's actually for both. I think even can men have it all? Yes, they should, but not at the expense of the woman. Can the woman have it all, but not at the expense of, let's say, other components of your society? I mean, so I'm having it all, but my children are suffering, or my husband is, or the man says, "Oh gosh, I'm going to have it all, but I don't care about my wife or my children." So I think a balance is important, but you need to find your own balance without being constrained, and that's the struggle. That how do I have it all because I have to conform to somebody else's expectation, and I'm expected to behave. I'm supposed to be taking care of care work and housework, and also the kids parent teacher meetings, and so then I cannot have it all. But if I want to genuinely take care of that bit and not do a career genuinely without being under pressure, I should be able to do it. I was just watching this Netflix movie called Mona Lisa Smile, which is like in 1954, Wellesley College, all graduates, women graduates, were expected to, the graduation was just a tick box, like a diversity tick box. They were expected to marry and have children. That was the highest, ambition. So it's, if you want to do it, you want to give up your career, you want to paint, you want to draw, you want to take care of home and bake, so be it. But if you don't want to do that and you want a career, please be unashamed about it. But that does not mean, of course you need the support, and of course you need that, but don't be afraid to go out and make that happen. But not to say that, oh my God, now you are letting other aspects kind of go to dogs. So it's yes, that's what I would say.
Okay.
Just to add a point to what Preeta very nicely explained. I think post-COVID, these discussions have really picked up steam when most of the workforce has been called to work from the locations or so. Whether it's work-life balance or work-life integration or whatever you call it, it should not be a struggle. End of the day, we all work for really ensuring our creative juices get some platform, right? And you contribute in a valuable fashion. So at the same time, I think there's also one important angle to it in terms of bringing in systemic change or recognition, which is not tied to merely working hours. Because whether it was anyways from the location, from the home, remote working, or stigmas associated with these different work models, suddenly those become valuable when you have some kind of a difficult situation outside, and then these work models become difficult to digest when we have a hunky-dory situation outside, right? So the compensation or the really redesigning the valuation criteria should be tied to outcomes instead of just mere working hours. And that's pretty much in the systemic architecture that organizations generally follow. Are we aligned to that? Having said that, on the other side, when it comes to really, it's not men or women, but there will be maximum or a majority of team which fall in place and align with these kind of goals, and there are going to be few who kind of take advantage of these kind of initiatives which are really there to get an inclusive participation, right? Now, the majority suffers because of the kind of norms become stringent for really avoiding the workforce which kind of take advantages of this kind of situation. So it's important that how we balance the gap. There has to be systemic change, as well as there has to be an initiative so that we kind of contribute in the best possible way, that we stay healthy and really work creatively.
Absolutely. So, Malti, do you think, are we heading toward true gender equity in leadership, or will it always be an uphill battle?
I think it's a long road, definitely uphill battle, as we kind of discussed in some of the previous questions. I think we have made a lot of progress with every decade, with every passing, year. But I think in true form of equity, I think it is definitely riddled with a lot of obstacles to overcome, whether it is unconscious bias, whether it is the larger ecosystem empathy, and I would say not only for women as a gender, but larger subcategories, other communities that we spoke about. I think there is a lot to be done there, whether it is awareness, whether it is sensitivity, whether it is access to the opportunities, whether it is decision making. There is definitely a lot of work to be done there.
Can I just add on to that?
Yes, please.
So there's a battle, but I don't think it's uphill. I think we are kind of done a whole lot of journey, rightly. So if I look back, certainly last at least 10 years, and certain industries are benchmark. But I think a lot of responsibility on making more of it happen lies on us women also. What are we doing to ensure that there are more women opportunities available in organizations, in spaces that we occupy, in influences that we can do, in the support we can provide, and who we mentor, and what are we doing to push it? So if we are seeing something not happening, and it need not be part of that industry, you need not have a role there, what are we doing kind of about it, so that these become, it's not, yes, there is a battle, but it doesn't become such a struggle. It can happen faster. We all have to play a role. It's not just a company, corporate, the men, it's all of us. And that sooner we realize that it's better. I mean, there is an ad, which I'm sure a lot of us would have seen, about providing Insta mates. And the ad shows that the price has been reduced from 245 to 49 rupees an hour. And this is for maids. If your maid is gone on leave, you can get an Insta maid for 49 rupees an hour. It's launched in Mumbai now. Now that's exploitation, that's unfair, and that reduces, a domestic worker to kind of a woman expendable. And that's, so these are voices that we can raise. So all of us have to my mind, play a role as well.
Right. Ashwini?
Just to add to Preetha's point, I would like to tell a small story. So there was a Stoic and a disciple, and the disciple said that I am ready for grabbing all the knowledge. So give me the knowledge so that I receive the enlightenment. Okay. So the Stoic said, no, you're not ready for it. The disciple was pretty adamant enough and said, no, you have to give me the knowledge. I'm absolutely ready for it. So the Stoic pushed the disciple in water, and the disciple started kind of breathless, and really, so the Stoic pulled him out and said, that's the fight for survival. right? That's the urge for really breathing and surviving. And that's what knowledge is. If you've decided to be in the career, if you've decided to be part of this leadership journey, then it's essential to equip yourself with the right kind of knowledge. And that urge it's not just a superficial urge to be there. It is the thought process, it's the mind, body, soul that needs to be aligned so that you will find ways and means so that you're able to take care of, let's say, personal front, professional front, what needs to be done when, and so on. But that urge has to come from within, that yes, I need to go along this path. And then ability to grab the knowledge. There are immense resources today which are available. Help yourself to really grab those opportunities. There is immense help which is available. Are we ready to ask for help? And that grooming, that understanding, or those adjustments, adaptability or flexibility will start falling in place as you start putting those small steps forward. So one of the point that comes into play, I was going through this McKinsey report, and they said that there's something called as experience capital. And experience capital comes from knowledge, skill, and wisdom that you derive out of job. And it is said that one big reason is that educational and entry level skills are same for both men and women. But even then, women are not able to really grow up to the career path. And that's primarily because they don't hop jobs as much as the male counterpart. They hop the jobs more. Now, what happens when there's a professional shift or when there's an occupation change? You get across multiple different environments, you get across a different boss, different colleagues, and you learn the ways and means to deal with those situations. And there's a different level of learning that happens. When you don't have that many job hops, you are within the same environment, and it's up to you to bring about those learning opportunities. And yes, there are certain things that can be done at the system level, but there are initiatives that need to come from within that will help women rise further. So I think that's where it aligns with what Pritha and Malti beautifully said.
Right, and that was the final discussion point was, I would want each of you to give me one leadership tip that you would want whoever is in the journey of being a leader or is a leader and wants to do something about it. So one tip that they can follow. Malti or Pritha.
I think I think the first thing is that everybody has a leader in themselves, whether you are in high school, whether you have that title of being a people leader. So I think it is just a matter that everybody has those leadership traits. I think to me, one of the fundamental qualities of leadership traits starts with empathy, right? So I do believe that whether you are leading people, you are leading a project, you are leading a company, whatever you lead, I think you start with empathizing, whether it is your users, whether it is your customers, whether it is your employees, your team. I think that is always a great place to start with, because that automatically elevates the human element. You always kind of start from there. So for me, anybody who thinks that they want to kind of build their leadership traits, I always would start with empathy.
So to me, I think the first is for every woman out there. I will say, dream. Think about what you want to be. Don't be afraid about limiting yours to what my parents are expecting. What am I, I'm expected by society is expecting. So firstly, dream. And in a corporate career, or you are not in a corporate career, that's the first thing. I think that's important. The second is that then get a mentor. Now it's easier said than done. But network, check out where and who you can, even if, I mean, there are no labels on people. I am a mentor. I mean, anybody can be a mentor, and you might have to probably, search or check out or seek from very many people before you hit sweet spot with some 3 or 4. But don't be afraid to then, seek out how you can achieve your dream. It could be little things that you want help from, or just want to bounce off your idea, or just address your confusion. Feel free. So I would say these are 2 kind of important to me. And for everybody out there or out here, do check out a woman that you kind of meet or come in contact with, saying, what do you want to do? Is there anything else that you want to do? How far do you want to go? So we work with women from low and middle income community, and sometimes their ambitions are kind of small. So you could be doing a beauty parlor business or stitching business, and they would talk about, okay, fine, I'm earning so much. This thing first is, can you do 5 times more? Can you do 10 times more? And that's when the magic starts happening. Yeah, but only if I could get that, only if I could do that. So I would say these 2 are important. Dream big and then seek out.
Okay. Ashwini?
So I think inherently there are qualities in women to get into leadership role. So Malti and Preeta kind of touched upon most of the points. Just to add to what they said, I think multitasking and adaptability is another big aspect, that whether you're a working woman or not, you know to do it, right? And that is one of the important aspect, that a leader has to always keep juggling across multiple responsibilities, look at hazy issues or conflicting times. So I think women have all these quality in terms of empathy and multitasking and adaptability, relationship building. I think they need to bank upon and believe that they should be able to apply these qualities and really grow up the leadership ladder. Yeah.
All right. So let's open the floor for the Q&A, although we have exceeded the time that was given to us. But let me take up 2-3 questions that were, like, there are some questions that we have already answered. So let's just take 2. In moments of self-doubt or imposter syndrome, what strategies have helped you push forward with confidence? Malti?
Yeah, I can take that. I think this is always work in progress. Whether you are somebody starting your career or you are somebody at a CEO, I think we all have our moments of self-doubt. And in some ways, I feel it is also a little propellant, because it makes you probably work harder and look for ways how you can better. So that's probably the positive side of it. But having said that, I think for me, what has worked in these moment of doubt always is, I think we kind of spoke about, is awareness, right? So I think a little bit of self-talk is probably where I always start, wherein because it is not easy. For example, Pritha and I are solopreneurs. We're running companies, right? Every single day is different, right? So I think keeping a growth mindset, keep always trying to, and it doesn't come very easily. You have to strive for it. So pushing yourself towards that positive mindset, having the self-talk conversation, I think that's number 1. Number 2, just going back to one of the points that I was saying earlier, I have always actively seeked out mentors. So in these moments of self-doubt, I think I have always been very uninhibited about, or very shapeless about, just giving them a call and saying that, hey, you know what, this is what I'm kind of going through right now. This is what I'm kind of thinking. And that conversation has actually, helped me to move to a much more positive state of mind than probably what I was before. So find your tribe, seek out those mentors, because that that definitely helps. So I think typically in these kind of conversations, reading a motivational book, if you are somebody who anything that you think gives you joy and happiness definitely helps you to kind of move to a more positive state of mind. And I think that after that you are able to think through things more with more clarity, right? So these would be some of the things that has always helped me.
All right. So, as leadership expectation evolve, what skills or mindsets do you believe will be most valuable for the next generation of women leaders? I think it's a good question. Preeta, do you want to take up?
Yeah, so number one is, I think we'll have to move from being the victim to being the becoming the anchor. And more women have to come out kind of now in support of pushing the agenda. So I think the first thing that I will say, women have to now truly start being the ambassador, advocacy role to kind of make sure the shift happens. And the along with breaking barriers where they from conventional roles and conventional situations. So whether that is in entrepreneurship, whether that's in corporate careers, whether that's in, for example, the longest time, teaching roles in nursing are meant for women. I think it's time that we actively break those barriers. So I think these two are, to my mind, critical women leadership roles that women now need to start playing more active in.
Okay. So Ashwini, I have a question specifically for you because you're the presiding officer for our POSH committee. So what small but impactful changes can organization make to create a more inclusive and supportive environment for women leaders? What do you think?
I think awareness is key. As part of POSH committee, we do that in terms of ensuring that we have regular training sessions, and also ensuring that the entire team is well aware of the fact that there's a POSH committee in place, and there are serious outcomes that will come through if consciously or unconsciously, if there are any of the discriminating practices which are there. So that is one. Many a times what happens is people may not be aware. It is by very nature that or slang or a language or a particular style that typically freshers out of college, when they join the corporate world, they are used to following certain style, and then they suddenly land into a situation where the corporate or the company where they feel that this was not something I really intended, but it was just that they get a severe backslash in terms of difficult outcomes, in terms of whether they are asked to leave or some kind of a career setback that might come way. So as far as POSH related or POSH IC related stuff is concerned, awareness plays a key role. In terms of inclusivity, I think as women leaders, and this is also one of the point I would like to add to what Preeta said about newer leadership or women in leadership need to follow, is how much you help other women to get over their self-skepticism or their inhibitions. Are we creating an environment wherein other women feel comfortable to open up and voice their concern to you? Can you play a role model to other women? So I think these are small little practices which the team can do. There was one question that you had asked, Linsa, about what role men can play in this journey, right? I think it also comes there, like in terms of advocacy or being mentors or providing guidance. Men can play a role and also support in this initiative, wherein that can add to creating an inclusive environment.
Sure. So I think I want to take a moment to express my gratitude to this incredible panelist, Malti Preeta Ashwini. Thank you for your wisdom, experiences, and leadership. Your insights have been truly inspiring. And to our audience, thank you for your patience, thank you for your time, your engagement, and your commitment to this conversation. So from all of us at NimbleWork, we would like to thank all of you to join, and especially the panelists. Thank you so much for being there and sharing your insights.
Linsa, thank you. I think you played the most important role, and thank you for putting this together and helping us do this conversation. So big thanks to you.
Yep. Thank you for having us.
Always.
Thanks so much,
you.
Linsa.
Thank
Have a
you.
good morning.
Thanks,
good day.
Malti.
Great
Thanks,
night and
Preeta.
day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.